An atomic clock.
Mayor, I have kind of spotty internet, so if you see my video go, it's because I'm freezing a lot and would rather be able to hear everything.
Perfect. I'll look for your virtual hand in the participant panel if you have something to say.
I'll try to bring my video up if I'm looking to engage, but just fair warning.
Thanks for joining us on spring break, everybody. So we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining the March 21st Louisville City Council special meeting. I'm Mayor Ashley Stolzman. Because of COVID-19, our meeting's being held electronically and is being recorded. To request permission to speak during public comment periods, an attendee can raise their hand by clicking the raise hand button, which you'll find at the bottom of your screen. Attendees calling in can dial *9 on their phone and a raised hand will appear on your behalf. When I acknowledge the member of the public and our city clerk unmutes you, please tell us your name, your address, and your comments. Each person will have 3 minutes. If you'd like to speak on another topic, you'll need to raise your hand again. Thank you for following these directions and helping us to maintain meeting decorum. City Clerk Muth, could we please have a roll call?
Mayor Stolzman?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Maloney?
Here.
Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Here.
Councilmember Fahey?
Here.
Councilmember Lay? Councilmember Most?
Thank you, everyone. We have a quorum. There's Councilmember Most. And so that takes us to our consent agenda this evening. Just want to note for the public and the clerk that we got an additional email around the item on the consent agenda. If we could include that in the meeting minutes or in the follow-up packet, just, or if there's a addendum for this packet, just so that that's part of the record. Any other discussion on consent agenda or a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? City
Sorry,
Clerk,
I'm
Muth,
having
could you please
technical
mute
problems.
Councilmember Most?
I'm just having technical problems here. Let me just shut that down.
City Clerk Muth, could you just mute everybody that's not speaking right now, and then that'll work. Thank you very much. And so that takes us to our order of business this evening, which is resolution number 19, series 2022, a resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement for the provision of assistance for debris removal resulting from the Colorado wildfires and straight line winds disaster, DR 4653 Colorado. We'll have a staff presentation this evening. I'll kick it over to our city manager, Jeff Durbin, to hand it to the appropriate staff.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know that I need to go into a whole lot of detail on this because we've been talking about the private property debris removal program for quite some time. Everybody knows that this is a very important project and milestone towards recovery for our community, and we've been working hard to get to this point. I'm really happy we're at this point. I'm really happy that we have some numbers that we can share so that you can consider this intergovernmental agreement. Attorney Kelly is on the call this evening as well. If you have any questions about the specifics of the IGA, the intergovernmental agreement, as far as the cost, which gets plugged into the not to exceed line on the intergovernmental agreement, the IGA, in the draft in your packet, that was listed as $6.5 million. At the very end of the packet, I would point your attention to a table, if you will, that's titled PPDR Estimated City Costs. Just to run through this quickly to make sure everybody understands this. Participants, those are properties. 457, we took the 554 and removed 100, and I think it's 104 or 108 properties that have already or maybe it's just 100 properties have already applied for permits for the private debris removal program. In other words, hiring a contractor themselves to remove debris from their properties. And then the top part here, these are eligible FEMA reimbursable costs. So the $43,000 is an estimate on a per parcel basis. We're assuming a relatively low number for insurance. This would be specifically the debris removal insurance coverage if property owners have that. Sometimes it'll be more, sometimes less. Then that total gets subtracted from the total cost before it gets allocated out, if you will. And thank you to our congressional delegation and President Biden. We are looking at a 90-10 share on the FEMA reimbursement, which is a great thing for this community and our financial solvency. The Louisville share would be 5%. The state will pick up half of the local share at 5% also. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Meredith. Then we get down to the lower part of the table here, uncovered FEMA costs. These are not currently eligible for reimbursement. So rescraping is there. I kept this, I crossed it off and there's no amount in there because I wanted to make sure that this is something that we've talked about before, that there might be a rescraping cost for some of these properties. I think where we're at, we're probably in good shape here, but this number was not included in the most recent line item expenses that I got from the county attorney's office. So I left it in there as a reminder, but I don't have a dollar amount there. Soil sampling is the soil testing cost, which is not reimbursable. That's assuming 3 per site. Vehicles, we assumed 1 per property. Asbestos concrete is estimated to be $3,000 per property. This is concrete that if it has asbestos in it, it costs, that's the cost estimate. If it's clean concrete or if it just has debris, fire debris, the cost is minimal. And then we get to driveways, patios, sidewalks, etc. This is all the flat work, 4,500, 4,510. Trees, there's a range there. It depends on the size, but between $30 and $70 is the cost there. So we put 50 in, estimating 2 per property. These will be trees that are not eligible, trees that have burned, that present a hazard to workers or are likely to fall into the ash footprint, are eligible and would be part of that $43,000 cost up above. And then the last category we have, there's 26 damaged, not destroyed properties. These are homes where the structure was partially burned, but not totally burned. So that's an estimate of about a 33% increase over the cost for a lot that doesn't have any structure on it. Then we get a subtotal of $5.6 million. That includes the $639,000 Louisville share up above. And contingency of 10% gets to a $6.2 million number. And again, in your draft in the packet, that's listed in the IGA as $6.5 million. Mayor, I know you wanted to have a conversation about some of these numbers, so I think I can leave it there and turn it over to you.
Thank you very much for the presentation, City Manager Durbin. And I don't know exactly, I think I shared screen properly, but I just want to confirm that you can just see the one screen that has the sheet up on it for our conversation. Excellent. So thank you very much. I want to thank the staff, particularly our city attorney, Kathleen Kelly and her office, and the city manager's office, Jeff Durbin's office, for working through these details. From our community standpoint, urgency is critical for debris removal. And so working on this swiftly so that we could ensure that the debris removal could happen as quickly as possible was critical. And I want to thank you guys for putting in all the extra work around the clock to make that happen. My next comments, I want to keep vague. I don't want to say anything that could potentially harm the county in any way. I'm very thankful for the county's work in undertaking this contract, and I want to give them the best chance possible for FEMA reimbursement. And we have every reason to believe that we'll get FEMA reimbursement through the process that they've used. But if you read historical newspaper articles and over time, like FEMA reimbursement is not a sure thing. Right? Like there are lots of reasons that people don't end up getting reimbursement, whether it's procurement or not filing your FEMA sheets properly. There's lots of things that you have to do exactly in a prescriptive manner. And so my following comments are really just because the city's not bid this contract and we don't have visibility to the contract and some of the things that have happened at the county level. So I thank the city attorney for putting in this not to exceed number. in our contract to limit our liability. And, if we do get to a point where we're reaching up to it, we can always increase that number. So in that spirit, I would like the council to consider eliminating the estimate for asbestos concrete from our not to exceed number. These homes were built in the 90s. I think there's a very low likelihood that there's asbestos in the concrete and that we'll have to incur that expense. And so if we remove that, it would lower the estimate by that $1,028,000 number. And the other number that is hard to know if it's on point or not is the driveway patio sidewalk number. I think that assumes that every property wants to have those features removed. And we're doing that on an optional basis. So some people inevitably will want to save those features to save on rebuild cost. I know of many families that are hoping to save their driveway since it's not structural, and to help them get a little bit of money going forward. So I think including all of those two line items increases our cost potential beyond what we're likely to see. I think we could talk about some of the other numbers too, like the 457. As time goes on, I think we may see more or fewer people participating, right? I think there's some other things like in the insurance number and things like that, but I would be comfortable just removing that $3 million. And actually, I think just making it a nice round number, capping our burden at 4 million gives us some additional protection and gives us enough latitude to fulfill the whole contract. And if need be, we could always go back and amend that number up. But because we haven't seen the contract and we don't have visibility to some of those features, I think that helps limit our liability also. So I would just ask council to entertain that not to exceed number at 4 million instead of the 6.2, but totally open to discussion. And I hope we can reach some kind of a compromise by the end of the night because we do need to move forward with this as quickly as we can. Councilmember Most?
I just have a question about, and again, thank you, City Manager Urban for this. The driveways, patios, sidewalks, are those sidewalks on the property or is that the public sidewalk in front of the house?
Great question. These are private property sidewalks, not the public sidewalks adjacent to the street.
So that we're handling that. That's a whole different, I assume that's city infrastructure and that's going to be handled separately.
That would go through PA, public assistance. So that'd be part of our damage assessments where sidewalks were damaged by fire.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Maloney?
Thank you,
I
Mayor.
almost called you City Manager Maloney.
Oh, no, that's way beyond my capability. So Mayor, do you want to take public comments before we dive into this, or do you want us to dive into this now?
We certainly can. I'm happy to do that. So if there are any members of the public would care to comment on this agenda item, please raise your hand and let us know what you'd like to tell us. Seeing none, that takes us back over to council discussion. Mayor Pro Tem Maloney.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I appreciate you, Sage's comments on this. I think that, look, before I get into that, I want to thank the staff and I want to thank the city attorney for all their work on this. I know that there was a lot of work and just trying to get enough information to be able to put this spreadsheet together was a lot of work. And it was done in a ridiculously fast time frame. So, I appreciate all that. I also want to thank Boulder County for their leadership through this process. We need partners, and to have a county who is willing to take this on at that level is something I appreciate. FEMA and the state have been at the table. They've been trying to help us through this process. We need to recognize that. And of course, the town of Superior, I want to thank them as well. So I don't really have any comments on the top part of it. I mean, the numbers are the numbers, and thank you, City Manager Durant, for putting it together. The uncovered FEMA costs, I do have comments on that. When I said when we discussed this earlier is, I believe we need to cover these. I mean, I think it's in the best interest of the city of Louisville. It's in the best interest of all the citizens of Louisville that we begin this work in such a way that ensures that we can move ahead as quickly as possible. And I believe this is one of those things that the city should invest in to make sure that happens. So I'm totally on board with that. Now the question comes down to the sage comments made by our mayor. The 6.5 to me is the upper end of the cost. And what the mayor is suggesting is we should look at a little more critically at some of these And if we start exceeding those numbers, then we can work with the county and Superior to, update the IGA based upon numbers that we'll have a better handle on in the near future, I hope. And asbestos, there's no asbestos. I mean, it's hard for me to believe. So I'm fine with taking out the asbestos concrete number of 1,028,250. And Mayor, I believe you suggested we cut the number for driveways, patios, sidewalks in half. I could support that, which reduces this by $2 million. So it kind of gets us down to somewhere between, not to exceed $4 or $4.5 million. That I could absolutely support that tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Dickinson.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm fine with both of those. And if we're going to go with a round number, then my next few comments are probably less important, but just want to clarify that the trees at $50 per tree, 2 trees per lot is $100 per lot. So it would be $45,000. It would seem. That equation just seems odd to me that, but we're talking about a $22,000 difference in a $6 million number. So probably not critically important. And then also, I just don't understand the vehicles. You said that you were thinking maybe 1 vehicle per lot, which seems.
They're
Go ahead.
they're
Ma'am.
recycling the vehicles, so they're going to recover revenue from the recycled vehicles.
So the idea is it's an item here, but it's being zeroed out. So we're just putting it as a penny, just to note that it's something we'll be doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's fine then. And yeah, I would agree, like I said, with dropping the asbestos and at least doing a 50% adjustment on the driveway patio. I think those are both reasonable. Thanks.
Councilmember Brown.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to add my support to your proposal and to Councilmember Maloney's comments. I think that the adjustments that you suggest make sense, and we can always come back and raise the not to exceed number if necessary in the future. So I'm willing to support that this evening.
Thank you, everyone. Does everybody feel comfortable with $4.5 million as the number for the not to exceed number? I see a lot of thumbs up. And then City Manager Durbin, is it clear that if we need to make an adjustment to increase that you'll bring back an amendment to the IGA?
Yeah, definitely. And Councilmember Dickinson, you're correct. That was missing at times 2 there. So that adds another 20,000, still keeps that under 4 million. And just, yes, I think in the direction on this is really clear. And just so you understand, one of the things that I wanted to do by breaking these out by these line items is this will feed into a task order that becomes part of the Boulder County contract. So by you approving that number, you're giving me clear direction that you want to move forward with removal of all of these line items. So I wanted to clarify that as well, and I appreciate that clarity.
Thank you. And then City Attorney Kelly, is it clear for you on the IGA work that needs to still be done on the amendment to be made for the not to exceed number?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So we have a resolution for the council's consideration to approve the IGA, and if the movement for that resolution can just include in the motion the revision to section 7C to make that amount $4,500,000, that will be sufficient.
All right, perfect. Thank you, everyone. Any other discussion on this agenda topic tonight from folks? Not Mayor Pro Tem Maloney.
I'm going to go straight to motion. If you have no problem with that,
Please do.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 19, series 2022, amending section 7C to $4.5 million not to exceed.
Is there a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
There's a second from Councilmember Most. Thank you. Any discussion of the motion from folks? Just one last comment, and it's sort of tangentially related to the motion, if you'll all entertain it. So on that damaged, not destroyed demolition number, the 26 homes that have the 2 or more walls standing, just want to let everybody know that our delegation continues to advocate to include those in the FEMA number. So if they're successful with that, that would lower our number even further. So I'll keep working with them on that. And they've done just such a great job for us so far. So thanks again to the delegation and to the county for working through this. So seeing no other comments, I will ask City Clerk Muth for a roll call vote.
Councilmember Lay,
Yes.
Mayor Stolzman,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Dickinson,
Yes.
Councilmember Fahey,
Yes.
Councilmember Most,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Maloney.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Are there any topics for future agenda items this evening? Councilmember Lay.
Actually, not an item for a future agenda item. I just wanted to apologize for the delay. My computer was flashing and flashing and flashing, and I decided to wait till it was all fixed to come back on. So sorry, I'm delayed.
We're glad you made it, and that gives me time to ask if your shirt is pigs or buffalo.
Oh, Buffalo, of course.
Okay, excellent. I just couldn't tell for sure. Got it. Thank you. Any other comments or matters for a future agenda? City Manager Durbin.
Just one, the Board of County Commissioners have this on their agenda, the IGA and the contract at noon tomorrow.
Thank you very much, City Manager Durbin. And Councilmember Dickinson, no thank you for that. That was just not fair. Not fair at all. Councilmember Lay.
There is one, and I'll get back with you about this. I was brought up and was tasked with the idea of contacting the Attorney General for having somebody from their office come in and talk a little bit about consumer protection to us, or in some context. I've made that contact and am waiting to hear back from their community engagement folks, and we'll pass that on. It may be something at a council meeting might be good. It may be another forum, but we can talk about that later. I just wanted to let you know where that stood. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Lay. That'll be fantastic. And another potential topic for a future agenda item, many community members continue to reach out around questions around the funding that's been raised by the Community Foundation and how that will be dispersed to victims. We may consider at some point putting on a council agenda discussing writing a letter or weighing in on that. I know I continue to get a lot of questions about that on a daily basis. I see a lot of nodding. Do people want to put that on an agenda?
Yes, I would support that.
Okay. Councilmember Lay, did you want to?
Yeah, I was gonna address that just briefly. I've had some discussions over the last couple of months around this issue with the executive director over there, Tatiana Hernandez, and it might not be a bad idea to actually have her come and talk a little bit about that at some point. I know that the city manager has had discussions and is in discussions with her too, so that's another idea.
I think that's great, but I also think sending a letter with our perspective might be appropriate just to weigh in on what we're hearing, because we're hearing directly from residents too. City Manager Durbin?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that we are working on the 911 evaluation as well as evacuation. Last week, Chief and I had a really good visit with dispatch and folks from the sheriff's office and OEM. So I expect within hopefully the next couple of weeks or so, we have some reports and reporting and recommendations we can bring back. And I trust you would like that presented at a council meeting.
Yeah, that'd be a great topic for a future council agenda. Thank you,
Okay,
City.
as soon as it's ready, we'll do that.
All right, perfect. All right, seeing nothing else, we'll let Councilmember Dickinson get back to his holiday.
Oh, please.
Wow, right?
Yep.
All right, have a good night, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Enjoy, Caleb.
Thanks.
Night.